Well, good evening and welcome to this edition of Coastal Conversations presented by A Better Glenn. My name is John Richards. I'm one of the co-founders of A Better Glenn. I'm excited about this conversation. We are actually talking to some Glynn County High School alumni who are on this call, and I'm excited to be able to chat with them on this evening. And I just want to note here from the beginning that we got some balance. Okay, I got two pirates, I got two terrors, so I don't want nobody to get in their feelings about us having any unbalanced conversations. And I'm gonna start. You know what? Since I'm a pirate myself, I'm gonna start by introducing our friends, the terrorists, who are in the room, who are Glenn Academy alumni. And I'll start with Michael Hardy. Michael Hardy is a Glenn Academy graduate, alumni of Glynn Academy, and now he lives in Brooklyn, New York, and is the operating partner for Diversis Capital and has 13 years of industry experience with several companies that you may know, including Etsy, Digital Ventures, BGC Digital Ventures, and others. He received an appointment to the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, graduated from the University of Tennessee, and holds graduate degrees from Indiana and Columbia. I'm telling you, everybody on this call, they're a big deal and they're doing big things, and they all are from Glynn County. I'm excited about all of them. Next up is Brother Antoine Walker, who's had a long career in probation work and currently serves as the director for accountability courts and serves as the VP of alumni affairs of an HBCU, Morris Brown University in Atlanta, Georgia. And he is also a proud member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Good to have you here, Mr. Walker.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Next up, I'm going to introduce Brother Derek Heck. Heck is a graduate of Brunswick High School, class of 97. FAMU grad, went to Florida A&M, another HBCU, University of Pittsburgh graduate. He's currently working because he doesn't have enough degrees, working through a PhD program at Stanford University, and also is an entrepreneur. He has his own company. We're going to be talking with him about that here in a few. And then last but certainly not least, my sister Keisha Butler is a proud native of Brunswick. She was born and raised in Brunswick, graduated from Brunswick High School, attended Mercer, got a BS in biology, attended Mercer for grad school, got a PhD in pharmacy. So it is Dr. Keisha Butler. And she currently is serving as Associate Vice President and Professor at the University of Florida. So welcome, Dr. Butler. So good to have you here. I myself am a graduate of Brunswick High School. So it's kind of three of us in here, but I'm the moderator and I'm the host. I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of that. And I wanted to just start our conversation. And I see you all in the comments, so you can drop any comments that you may have, and I'll put them on the screen. But just want to start our conversation as we talk about you all being a legacy alumni. Because a lot of times when I talk to people who have moved away from Brunswick and come back, uh, they have a desire to give back to home or do something back home, but they can't necessarily move back home. And so I wanted to just start by having a conversation with you all about how it is that our community has shaped each one of your futures. So if you had to name one fond memory you had of our hometown and how it shaped your future, what would that fond memory be? I'm gonna start with Dr. Butler. What you think?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this in preparation for today, and there are certainly a number of fond memories. I heard you all talking about still knowing each other's home phone numbers, right? So honestly, growing up in a small community creates deep connections. And I feel like those deep connections help to really build confidence because we
Hmm.
had folks that we were around. We had that healthy competition amongst each other, but we also inspired and supported one another. So if I had to say, it was really just having the deep connections. And of course, church was like second home. So
Mm,
you said one, but I'm giving you another one. But church was second home. That's where, I spent most of my time, and that was a second family. Having the principals, teachers that were a part of my church family that I could go to, that also was inspiring me and made sure that I stayed on my best behavior, and
mm,
also make sure that I got my work done.
mm.
That just really created a foundation for me.
Yeah, yeah. What about you, Antoine? What about you? Twenty. I
Um,
call you
uh, uh,
20.
I mean, along the same lines as Dr. Butler, it's those
Mm,
bonds that you develop that initiated in elementary school. My same six best friends are those same best friends that I met in elementary school. And we as in our 40s, we still are best friends. We still check on each other every day. We still challenge each other in every aspect of our life, whether it be family, career, whatever it is, those connections, they'll last until each one of us, takes our last breath. So those bonds that you develop just in that community of Brunswick in, Glynn County, I don't think it compares anywhere. So for me, it's just definitely the bonds and the friendship that I established in early childhood.
that's good, man. That's good. What about you, Michael?
Yeah, Dr. Butler, like you mentioned, the faith communities. It's something that like kept you there and really kept you grounded while you were in Brunswick. I was just kind of reflecting on that. It's also the big thing that brings you back to a lot of like the older saints, a lot of like older church members, even like people who you've seen as like kids kind of like grow up overall. It's been like a big inspiring thing that kind of like holds in my mind all the time. Anytime I come back to Brunswick, or just like a very warm memory there, just seeing families, a lot of people grow and mature and like move on with their lives. It's something I really think about. The other thing too, as far as like a warm memory, it's just like all the schools that I went to in Glynn County. Like I started at Burroughs Millette. I was rezoned for Thorpe Point Elementary, so you get Brunswick people and you get St. Simon's people, and then you get to come back to Glen Middle, and all these people you saw from those two schools happen to be there. I was zoned for Brunswick High, but chose to go to Glen Academy. So throw any shade behind.
That was intentional.
Yeah, it was definitely intentional. It was definitely intentional. I wanted to be there. Like my family went to Glen Academy as well. Touching all those schools and all those different communities. As an adult, it's been good to still remain friends with all those people from all those schools and all those environments. It's something I really hold near and dear. And it's a very warm memory for me, just all the people I had contact with.
That's good. That's good, man. What about you, Derek?
Yeah, I think I can echo what everybody has said around the institutions that really anchor our experience. But I think one of the ones that I will highlight, other than the shirt that I'm wearing from Selden Institute, which I think many of us we probably crossed paths there or went swimming there, had lessons there. But I want to lift up like our Christian day school, Temple of Truth, and I think we went there, and I think it's important for me. I think about the fact that most of our early teachers were Black teachers who survived Brown versus Board. So I think they taught with a certain emphasis on not being equal, but being better than, and presenting your best self, and really being serious about the opportunity to go to school and what that meant for not just you, but elevating everything and everybody around you. So I think that's one of my most fond memories would be, I think, having that kind of educational environment where at 3 years old, we had to know times tables. And I think that kind of foundational emphasis on excellence has kind of really permeated everything else.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Hey, here's a fun question for you. Because once y'all left Brunswick and got outside of Brunswick, especially possibly leaving the state, not many people know where Brunswick is. So my question for everybody is, how did you tell people where Brunswick was when they were like, man, where is what you talking about, Brunswick? One of my friends called it Bushwick. I was like, wait a second, that's not what we're gonna do. What we're not gonna do is that. How'd you describe that, Antoine? 20.
So I'll start with Savannah. I was like, well, are you familiar with Savannah? They're like, yeah. So, okay, I say, well, it's an hour south of Savannah. They don't know Savannah. I say, okay, well, Jacksonville. Do you know Jacksonville? Oh, yeah, I know where Jacksonville is. Well, we're north an hour of Jacksonville. We're in between them. And then, if you want to get fancy with them, have you ever been to St. Simon's Island or Jekyll Island? Oh, yeah, we visit there all the time. Well, you got to go through Brunswick to get to the island. So depending on if I want to be fancy That's how I'll describe it.
What about you, Mark? I know you're all the way in New York, so you know New Yorkers, they get attitudes with us from the South. How
They
you
do.
how you represent?
They do. All the New Yorkers go down to Florida, so it makes it a little bit easier to kind of have that conversation. I'd say that it's the biggest small town in between Savannah and Jacksonville, and most people tend to get it. Just
That's
right
it.
in the middle. Yeah.
What about you? Same thing, Keisha?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. One thing I would say, or I would add, is in the spaces that I'm in a lot of diversity and inclusion spaces, and we get to talking about the unfortunate deaths that occurred in our Black and Brown communities, and I do say Brunswick is the home, unfortunately, of Ahmaud Arbery. And so it does initiate a conversation. But oftentimes, yes, it is between Savannah and Jacksonville. But, we have received national recognition, and in a very unfortunate way, due to our brother, Ahmaud Arbery.
That's good. Brother Heck, what about you?
I am probably obnoxiously from Brunswick. Everybody at FAMU knew about the WIC. I would throw up a W, and my friends in California would say, that's West Coast, and I asked them which one started first. I think is a derivative of the South, and so I'm very much so Brunswick-centric. I refer to Jacksonville as one of our largest suburbs. I'm really, really centered on Brunswick, and when they say I've never heard of it, and I say that's because we don't want you to. So I'm pretty awful about it, but I love being from Brunswick. But Keisha brings up a great point about like the national coverage, and I think the national coverage that happened after Ahmaud's death, it's interesting to be from a place. How I hold Brunswick is a place that can nurture us, but a place that also has to grapple with what kind of energy created Ahmaud's death. Like that, we have to hold both of those things. So.
Yeah. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that because many of you, we've had to have that explanation of Brunswick being between Savannah and Jacksonville. But now in a very real way, when we say it, we can add that fact that shouldn't be a fact today, that this young man was chased down and killed in the neighborhood while jogging. And so my question for you all is in 2020, when you all first heard the news of what happened back home, how did that impact you? And then how did that move you to want to do something? So I'll start with you, Michael.
Yeah, I was actually in the middle of a job interview, believe it or not. I was interviewing with Etsy for something that I wanted to do. And I got the news probably about 2 minutes before I had to hop on a Zoom call and be ready to present my best self and like try to go after this position I really wanted to have and something I thought that fit. And I was really taken aback by the HR person that was actually like getting me warmed up and getting me ready for it. She's like, "Hey, I heard some things happen in your hometown, and I just want to know, do you feel okay and do you feel comfortable with moving forward with this interview?" And I had to say yes. Like that was the thing I was walking into. But it was something I held with me all the way throughout the interview. I think what made me want to be involved afterward was just knowing. Going through an interview, people being kind to me, being respectful of like where I'm from and how that might have impacted me and me knowing the family and everything else. It just made me want to find other ways to like do honor and do service to that. Afterward, there were events I got involved with. But for the most part, it was just nice to know that there was like someone else outside of like Brunswick, Georgia that wanted to like connect with me in that way and could get me through like something that seemed pretty ordinary like a job interview.
Yeah. Mr. Walker, I'm interested in hearing from you as someone who's been part of the probation system, understands some of the system. When you heard what had happened, how did that impact you? And what type of impact did that have on you?
Well, initially it was definitely anger, being that I actually shared a space with some of the people that were involved with the injustice. It was definitely anger. And then it was compassion because I'm a father. I have a black son that could potentially run in neighborhoods where he's not familiar, and potentially could have easily been him. But immediately I had to control that anger, because if you're not able to control the anger, then you're not able to affect change. So
Mm.
once I got my emotions to the side, I immediately wanted to get involved. And my first vehicle to get involved, of course, was through my fraternity. And of course, our fraternity was boots to ground with both sides of Ahmad's family, with his paternal side and his maternal side,
Mm.
advocating, working with the family, trying to bridge resources to ensure that those that were involved, were held accountable, and that justice was given to him and to his family. There's never there's never going to be a consistent peace as it relates to the whole injustice, and I still often think about it as I see him celebrated, not just in our community but across the world. We have a picture of him hanging in Morris Brown College's administrative building. There's
Mm.
streets named after him now. People truly know his name and know what happened to him. So just and now my mindset is, sometimes God takes things that start off as a tragedy. Those tests become testimonies. So
Mm.
it was a circle of emotions for me. But at this stage, I do believe he did not die in vain, and everybody learned a lesson from it. We got bills passed as a result of what happened to him. We got true change as a result of what happened to him, and it's our community that pushed that change. So now at this point, I'm proud. It started
Mm.
off as anger, but now I'm definitely proud of what we were able to accomplish as a community, coming together, white, black, Hispanic, everybody was there to make sure that he did not die in vain, and that his voice remains heard, and he remains seen. So right
Yeah.
now, I'm definitely proud of Glynn County, and a better Glenn, came out of that situation. So grassroots, great work, true work, not work for cameras and photo ops, actually true grassroots work, wanting to affect change in our community, and for that, I'm definitely proud.
That's so good. Dr. Butler, I know you've been in the DEI space for a little bit, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so hearing that news, hearing what happened at home with this young man, what type of impact did that have on you when you heard it?
It was definitely personable. It created a personal story that I could connect with, that I could share, and be raw and honest in how that affected me. So the words that Twani mentioned, they resonate with me because it was initially anger for sure.
Mm.
It really allowed an opportunity for me to have honest conversations with my son. We got into conversations about, this could be you. And, I grew up in a town that this happened in. This is not far off from me, from you. So it really created a space for us to talk, about what could happen. And I have to agree. I'm very proud of what the community was able to accomplish together. It really goes back to the roots of, or just the benefit of growing up in a small town.
Mm.
That small community comes together and supports no matter what, where if it's an achievement or it's a death.
Mm.
And this was an opportunity for the community near and far to come together and really just support one another.
That's good. That's good. What about you, Derek?
I think in addition to the anger and agony that we've all shared from this moment,
Mm.
I think watching a better Glenn hold mourning as well as start to activate mourning into movement has been really encouraging. And I think a better Glenn serves as a national model, a national example of how to
Mm.
sustain that kind of energy and to turn it into effective and proactive measures that continue to serve people. And so I want to just applaud a better Glenn for doing that. I can recall going back to Brunswick, and because my brother and his wife were about to build a house, my undergrad in architecture, I was taking my niece and nephew through a neighborhood, and I hadn't thought about it. And this is post Ahmad's death, and I wanted them to see the process that they be going through, like the process that they be experiencing. So we were going through a house under construction, and I kind of put Ahmad's death and the circumstances at that moment to the side And then I get out of the car, and then my nephew gets out of the car. And then as we're walking towards the house, he said, "I hope we don't get Ahmaud Arbery." And that really struck me when we think about what happened to a person, a family, a community, what a generation of people seeing themselves in Ahmaud's shoes. It makes me think of the people who were chasing and surveilling Ahmaud. It made me think about the fact that people will not know who you are, but because of whatever is informing their brains, media, family relationships, lack of interpersonal relationships that are diverse, they will assume who you are and then act on that. And they assume something about this young man, and they made it the worst. And they took it upon themselves to react in the most violent way because they assume without question motive, character, and everything about this young man. And it made me think we were all susceptible to that. And so, regardless of the degrees or our stations or wherever we go, we are susceptible to perceptions of other people. And we have to start challenging people to think about how they process who we are and the damage that that could do, and the danger that that puts a particular group of people in. And so I've been thinking about that. And so Ahmaud's death has continued to inform my work. You know, I work a lot around mental health and belonging and working with teachers and how they choose to do certain things in the classroom. And so Ahmaud's death has just, I think, accelerated my work that I'm doing out here. And so I just appreciate the model that you all have done in spinning it into something active.
That's good, man. Yeah. So one of the things that we were thinking about in launching our organization and thinking about long-term success and sustainability was being able to not just address the fruit of the problem, but the roots of the problem. And sometimes when you got to go down in the root and pull up roots, it takes long-term sustainable work. It's not going to take one or two marches or whatever it is. So our goal as an organization was to make sure that we were focusing on the long term, because I think a lot of times we tend to be reactionary rather than being proactive. So I always tell our team, I'm like, man, we got to stop fighting fires and start putting in fire systems and alarms to let us to be more proactive in the work that we're doing. And so that's what we're committing to do at A Better Glenn, as we're trying to help our young people navigate changes in the Georgia school systems in terms of what's being taught. And that's why we're taking them on these immersive historical journeys through Justice Journey. And so I just want to thank y'all here on the call for supporting us in that work. And I do have a question I want to ask y'all because our team processes this often because we say A Better Glenn, but we want to know what that means for the people who are from there and the people that live there. So my question for you is, having grown up in Glynn County, having grown up in Brunswick, having attended the high schools there, what does A Better Glenn look like or mean to you? I'll start with you, Dr. Butler.
So, yeah, that's a loaded question. I would have to start, John, I will never forget when we were in elementary school and you were called the N-word by a teacher in fourth grade, and how, our parents rallied around that incident, went to the board, the superintendent, and really made a big deal about it. But it just made me wonder, what did that do? Was there change? And I can't say that there was. It was attention and awareness brought to it, but I don't think that there was change. So for me, I would say the change starts with the people. We know in the South there is some deep-rooted racism that is evident. I'm sure all of us have experienced it in Brunswick. I know I have. I remember walking in Publix and someone just rode by and just called me a nigger for whatever reason. So we've got to start there with educating the people on what is going on and how do we change mindsets. So this is, and I say mindsets, but also hearts, right? Because this is deep rooted. It's from where folks are growing up and being taught these things. So we've got to get to the root of this and get to the heart, so that we can understand that we're all made in God's image. And no matter what our skin color is, we still bleed the same blood.
That's
And
good.
we are a community stronger together. So that would be the main thing. I think the other thing for me is opportunities. I think, a lot of us did move away because of more opportunities. And I think Brunswick is a great place to settle down. Being away from the beach, I miss it. And I wish I could go back oftentimes. I took it for granted. And it's just a place that's drivable to many different areas. And so I think it's a great place to settle down, but it should be a great place to flourish in your career as well. And I don't think that there are as many opportunities that exist in Brunswick that we would hope for. So those would be my two recommendations.
That's good. What about you, Mr. Hardy? What do you think a better Glynn? What does a better Glynn mean to you?
Yeah, like I'll be as specific as I can about this. I think a better Glynn to me means about creating pathways for people who live in the community and also outside the community to invest and grow in the community's future. So there have been like a number of people who have moved away. How do we get them involved in venture investing in small businesses? How do we get them to actually provide their knowledge, skills, and resources to help reimagine some of the infrastructure that Brunswick and Glynn County happens to have? How do we take all the resources that people have gotten, whether they move back or not, in order to just really help the community like grow and flourish overall? To me, I think that's what a better Glynn is about. It's not just where you live specifically, it's about what you connect to and actually giving people something worth investing in overall. So I know in my professional life, I do a lot of venture investing, especially in like small, like stage companies overall. And I think about what if we actually create a network for people who want to contribute in that way to really invest in the city's future or the community's future. I think that's what we really need to be angling towards. I've been blessed to see a lot of like communities develop and grow. I've lived in a number of different cities too. I want to see that actually happen in Glynn County. Why not us? Why not actually make that happen here? So better Glynn means actually building out that network of people on the ground, people who happen to be connected to it in a way to where you can really see the city flourish towards the future.
It's great, man. Mr. Walker, what about you? What's a better Glynn look like? What does that look like for you?
Well, I mean, for me, everything starts and stops with family. So removing that fear, within our villages, at any point in time. Yes, I have a biological mother, I have a biological father. At any point in time when I was being reared in Glynn County, if I needed to go lay at Miss Arnett's house, I knew I had a pillow there. If I needed to go and lay at Carlos's house, I knew I had a pillow there. His mother was my mother. If I needed to go and lay at Miss Atkins's house, I had a pillow there and I had a rest. I had a safe haven. So I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, but it's just not as pushed as much as when we were coming up. Family was huge. Villages were huge. We were held accountable not only by our biological parents, we were held accountable by our village. So we knew, if my mom didn't catch it, there were several other parents, several other surrogate mothers that caught it, or fathers that caught it, coaches that caught it, boys and girls club staff that caught it. Returning to that village, there's a fear that exists now in our community. When I come home, every time my grandmother tells me all the time that she wants to be in the house by 5 o'clock because she's afraid to be out after certain times of the night. My mother tells me she does not travel outside of her home after certain times of the night because they live in fear. There was a time when people, whether you were on the right side of the system or the left side of the system, they still protected, our community. So, my challenge is to return to the family, return to the villages, return to true friendship, true bonds where iron is sharpening iron and we're holding each other accountable. And it's okay if you agree to disagree as adults. That don't mean that you move from churches because you disagree with the pastor or the deacon. You stay within that church and you stay within that family and you affect change. You only can affect change from within. And for us, all of those industries will develop if we believe in us. We go back to our communities. Stop trying to earn a seat at the table and let's go back to creating our own tables and have people to watch what we do. So that's where it starts and stops with me. It's family. It's our family. It's what we build as a community to grow our families. Our children have something to model themselves after. So for for me, a better Glenn is returning to our foundations where we are enough. It does not matter what somebody else has. We are enough.
Yeah, we're not asking for seats at tables. We're looking to build our own tables. I love what you said there, Mr. Walker. What about you, Derek? What's a better Glenn look like for you?
Yeah, so I think at the heart of the work, people can get caught up in sometimes they say, well, there's some initiatives that are good for everybody, and they'll say, oh, a rising tide lifts all boats. But that's not true when my boat has a hole in it. If my boat, if I have no boat, so it depends on your conditions, and I don't want to offer some sort of trite thing about what's good for one is good for the other. That's not really true. I think at the heart of a better Glenn, I see it as this, like my 3 R's. I think your work, you recognize some hard truths. I think you reckon with those, and I think you reconcile. And I think those take a certain amount of courage. Each one of those steps takes an amount of courage. If we can't recognize both opportunity and challenge, and if then we can't reckon with the implications of those realities around racial issues, issues of difference, race, age, origin, identity, and then we won't reconcile. So if we're not willing to recognize the challenge, and then not really grapple with those implications with some really serious reckoning, then we can't really get to reconciliation. I think at the heart of a better Glenn, you are encouraging people to move through this series of recognition, reckoning, and reconciliation. And you're asking people to put their hands to the work. I think that's the heart of your work. And I really value that, because you're not asking people to do an easy task. It's a hard lift. But on the other side of that, there are both things to remedy, but there are also opportunities, like investment and more collaborative thinking and collaborative projects. So it's not always the bad side. On the good side, there are ways that we could do this well and do it together, but we have to face some of those hard truths first, and then not just ring the alarm about them. We have to start talking about what they actually mean and how to undo those kinds of things as well, and how to build upon these truths.
Yeah, I think one of the key things, Derek, as you mentioned, that is a lot of people have this mentality of I remember when it comes to our hometown. And they see not necessarily the potential or possibilities, but they have kind of a I'm thinking about the past mentality around what Glynn County is, and we're thinking about what it can be. And we're looking towards like what it can be. I think one of the things that I've noticed and we've noticed is the larger disparity between city and county and county resources, even larger than it was back when we were growing up in the city county context. The city just got their rec system back just this past year. And so a lot of city kids weren't able to be involved in county sports because the county facility was all the way across town. And as alumni of Brunswick, as folks who have lived in the city of Brunswick and been born and raised in Glynn County, I guess I really want to know, because we've all expressed kind of that tension, that racial dynamic tension. How do you all feel we can work to alleviate some of that gap? And Derek mentioned this, is like, man, we just need some people to get boats. How do we get people to get boats in Glynn County, in Brunswick, in order for that tide to raise all the ships? You got some folks swimming in the water and some people do have boats. How do we move towards that? I'm going to start with Mr. Walker.
So I think it definitely starts with an organization like a Better Glenn with the education piece. We have a lot of people that are just not familiar with the process, and through that fear, they elect not to exercise their vote. They don't know the impact of local elections versus, the presidential election. They don't know which election actually truly affects them the most. So grassroots organizations like a Better Glenn that is doing the educational component of it, explaining the importance of the vote, exercising the vote, and how it truly affects them. And most importantly, it's coming from somebody who they can relate to, somebody that they understand, and somebody that they see in their community day in and day out. So it's one thing for somebody to come around when it's election time. It's another thing that you're eating dinner with this person, you're eating lunch with this person, and you're discussing it at that time, and you're explaining the differences. Well, you want to know
why it took so long to get City Rec back. This is why. You want to know, you know your city commissioners. Do you know what your city commissioners are charged with doing? Do you know how to contact your city commissioners? Do you know where their offices are? Do you know that they work for you and not the other way around? So just having organizations like this to explain those things, I think that's where we start.
That's good, man. And we try to explain that as best we can. We have people contact us all the time, trying to figure out election cycles, trying to figure out who owns what in the city at the city and county level. It's a lot of work to do, but we try to lean into that work because we want people to be informed. And here's the thing about people who are educated and informed. Now they're equipped to make real decisions about local elections without just making it guesswork. So our goal is to be able to educate people around civic engagement. We try to do that as best we can. And I want to hear from you, Dr. Butler, in terms of what I mentioned. How do we move towards this piece of? And you talked about what happened with us in our youth. Like, we're gifted kids at a school, and I'm still getting called the N word. Like, you would think we'd be exempt, but we aren't. And so, what is the way we move beyond what we have seen in Glynn County?
Yeah, I would have to agree with Twani. It is definitely that empowerment, and you all are as the Better Glynn, you're providing that empowerment for one through scholarships, and I think we've got to provide greater level of education. Oftentimes, we don't know what we don't know, and providing true lived examples. This is a great platform right now for folks to see, some of us who grew up, even had experiences in Brunswick, but we were able to make it and utilize the foundation that we were provided to get to where we are. So I think we can be a voice and educate our own. I agree with when you hear from someone who has been in your shoes, that really resonates. I know for me, when I see someone that looks like me and is where I want to be potentially, my ears perk up. So really tapping into those of us who have been a part of the community and are proud natives, and just sharing our story and providing guidance and walking with folks on this journey.
That's good. That's good.
John, can I jump in there? Yeah,
sure, absolutely.
When we talk about like raising all boats, I really love the program that A Better Glynn has done. Like, I remember that all through the pandemic, and then even like the communities that's kind of like spurred as a result of A Better Glynn being stood up. Thinking back to the experience I had in high school, and that was through Youth Leadership Glynn. There's a version of it for like people who aren't in high school or middle school overall, to where you're pretty much taking a big journey through like local government, county government. You're seeing like how infrastructure contributes to Brunswick and contributes to Glynn County. You're literally on a shrimp boat with shrimpers and saying, how does the economics of this whole situation actually work out, the roles of banks, and actually writing bonds and a lot of other things. I think a way that you actually raise all boats is actually through civic education. Is there a program that could be expanded to get more people in, rather than just a select few, to understand how a city operates, how a county operates, how decisions ultimately get made, and then also pointing out how do you get in there through elected service or as a full-time job, or even through a volunteer basis, or to bring your skills and talents to help support certain decisions. I'm a big fan of actually seeing that type of civic education expanding out into the community to include more people on how our community actually operates, rather than just a few.
Or we could build our own table, which is one of the things that we've been discussing. So one of our core convictions and values is leadership development. We're already working through some of this with some of our younger people, but we're looking to make that more programmatic, to make sure that we include some equity training in that, some things that may be missing from other programs. Not to say that they're great, they're not great programs. We have a unique lens through which we look at our local community to make sure that our citizens are thriving. All of our citizens are thriving. And so we are working on some leadership development programming that would include all those elements, because we teach folks one-off through our city chats. I think Bobby may have mentioned that. Teach folks about civic engagement and educate people in that way. but we're looking to make that a little bit more formal in the process and raise up young leaders. Because here's the thing that frustrates us. And Derek, I'm going to ask you the same question here in just a second, but I want to just express one of our frustrations as an organization. Every time, so we can educate people all we want to go to the ballot box, but if they are deprived of choice at the ballot box, it means very little. And so what we've seen locally in our city, and this has nothing to do with politics, we're 501c3. The only thing that we want people to have is a variety of candidates to be able to run for local office. And one of the frustrating things for many people is they don't have any choices when they go to the ballot box, because people run unopposed who are incumbents, and this is on both sides of the aisle. Again, we're not a partisan organization. We want to help develop local leaders in the community who care about the community and may potentially want to be able to run for office. We can't run candidates, but we can help inform and shape some of the civic conversations and discussions that we can have locally. So, Michael, to your point, we're very passionate about this because we've seen the impact it's had on our voting numbers. People will not show up in the booth if they do not have hope once they get into the booth. And so our goal is to get folks informed, educated, allow them to be able to develop as leaders themselves and potentially run for local office. Derek, what about you? Same question for you, since you gave me the boat analogy and we talked about that as a team, but go ahead.
Yeah, I think one, it's a huge issue, right? A huge issue, and there are huge opportunities. But I think that one of the things I would caution us from doing is being overwhelmed by the scale of it, right? I think you can do monumental things moment to moment. I think you can think about things about what are the next best steps? What's the one next thing we could do? And sometimes it's food and clothing and water and shelter. It's the little things that give us enough breathing room to think about the larger, more systemic things. I think about the tension between the city and the county. I'm not sure if we've looked at models between cities and counties that work better or work well together, or if we need to collapse them and create a city and county that's one, like it's the same boundary system, and reimagine the entire thing. But at the core of it for me is asking the question around how comfortable can we be with the asymmetrical relationship between resources? And how can we layer that on top of a mapping of our city? What exists where, who has access to it, and why does that tend to fall on racial and economic lines? And if we could be satisfied with this distribution of resources being so connected to one's race and background and economic situation, we have to be uncomfortable with that first, right? And I think once we are uncomfortable with that, to the point where we say, well, what can we next do? I think that's where we have to start. So that's, for me, I think it's a large scale problem that can be done in increments. Like, what do we do this week? What do we do in our lifetime? What do we do in preparation for the next person who's going to carry the torch? Because I don't want us to be overwhelmed by the largesse of the task, but there are things that we could do to move it forward. And some of those are going to be really challenging, because people can be satisfied with what is, even if it's not serving them well, and still be afraid of change. And that's the other kind of, I think, lessons that are being taught through A Better Glynn, is that how to be sustainable, how to have that stamina to push through difficulty, to push through a series of no's, to push through the winds not being at your back and resistance from other people. So I think that's part of the training, is how do you persist through obstacles that are wrong, that are rooted in baseless ideologies. You have to go anyway. And so how to maintain your enthusiasm, and how to reimagine, how to dream, even in the face of people who are presenting you with a nightmare. And so I'm hopeful that that's part of the training too, that we ask questions and still dream big, but do it incrementally.
Yeah, John, I have one question, if I may. One add on, if I may. So the conversation has been kind of 8 to 5-ish. I tend to rock the boat sometimes, so I'm gonna try to rock it right now. So one of the things that I'm encouraged about when it comes to A Better Glynn is the courage that the organization has. And when we're talking about voting, what comes to mind with me and where my passion lies is dismantling some of these prehistoric political machines that exist within our community. And so with the leadership component that you all are bringing to your organization, through those leadership components, you're able to birth young leaders. So just for the lack of a better word, just because John Richardson doesn't put his name on me, that does not make me less of a candidate. That does not make me worthy of testing the waters and seeing how I can impact my community through one of these political offices. We have to get out of these old regimes to where if you're not under my regime, then you can't grow. That whole crab in the barrel mentality that is very prevalent within our community, that we would knock somebody who we know has the skill set and has the ability because they won't do it our way. There's several ways to get from A to B and be successful. But if it's not the old way, or if it's not the way that we tell you, then you get blackballed. So I trust and believe in a better Glynn, because I truly believe that what you're producing are truly true leaders with their own mindset and their own ways to make Glynn better. So I definitely applaud the organization for that. That's definitely something that I'm not disrespectful, but I can respectfully disagree with you, and we should be able to work together. So I encourage a better Glynn to continue that mode. Just because I don't agree with you, that doesn't mean that I can't effectively do the job that I sought after to do. So I applaud you all in your efforts to find true new leadership within our community.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that we talk about all the time is gatekeeping. In our community, it is bad, especially in rural areas around the state of Georgia. We're hearing that from other communities too. So Twani, thank you for lifting that up. And let me tell you something, a better Glynn, we ain't scared of nobody. I had to pause for a second. we ain't scared of nobody. And so we definitely go against the grain in local community because we see a system that doesn't allow the regular citizen to participate. I think Bobby and Laura had mentioned this, but our board meetings are during the day. So what does that mean? That means that people who aren't able to get off of work to sit on boards won't be able to do it. So that means that's either somebody who's retired or somebody who's a business owner. And so what we want to do is shift that and change that. We're always challenging the county and the city to say, man, don't have y'all board meetings at 2:00 during the day. Make them in the evening so regular people can show up to the meetings. And so when they do that, here's what they do. They exclude a certain cross section of our community, and we never get the opportunity to speak up and speak out because we don't have that opportunity to do that. So we're there, man. We're gonna be in the trenches, and we're gonna do that for sure. Twani, thank you for lifting that up. And don't be talking about me. I'm glad you didn't talk about me because I don't know who John Richardson is. So that person who was supporting the candidate. Now, John Richards, that might have been me, but I don't know who you were talking about just now.
That was just a fake name. You know our name call, so I just came up with a fake name. I said it kind of close, but no, it was just a fake name.
Oh, so let me just shift for a second here because I want to talk about the work we're doing. I think it is going to be transformative work, y'all. For some of y'all who may not know, for the past 3 years, we've been walking alongside high school students, taking them on an immersive journey called the Justice Journey. First year, they were able to go to Sapelo, go to Charleston, go to Savannah, check out some of our Geechee roots in that area, do some good meals from soul food restaurants. Last year, we took them on a 5-city tour, 5 cities, 5 states in 6 days. So they went to Atlanta, they went to Birmingham, Montgomery, Memphis, and Little Rock, visited historic Black civil rights locations and also HBCUs. And I'm happy to announce that after that trip, seniors graduated. We have some who are at HBCUs right now because of those efforts. So Better Glynn, we're trying to build this thing out, and we're trying to see how it is we can affect the future without us becoming gatekeepers ourselves. Because listen, I'm trying to move out the way for these young people. All of our team members are trying to move out the way for younger people, and we're doing that through our Justice Journey initiative and through things that we're going to do through the Legacy Gala that we're going to talk about here in just a moment. But before I do that, I see some of our Justice Journey alumni or some of the people who are currently going on the Justice Journey here. What's up, Chanthony? So I want to announce where we're going this summer for our Justice Journey. We have not announced it. Last year it was 5 cities. This year, since it's 2024, our theme is taking the truth to power. And so we're going to Washington, D.C. this summer on the Justice Journey. We'll visit several HBCUs in the area, including Norfolk State, including Hampton University, and including my alma mater, Howard University School of Law, and the Howard University as well. And we're also going to the African American Museum of History, going to make sure we make it there. And we're going to have an amazing immersive trip. But we need y'all support. Folks who are on this call are part of our legacy alumni. They've been supporting us for years, but they have made a commitment. And I want to challenge anybody who's here, who's an alumni of any of these schools. We need 100 folks. And here's Michael, here's one of the things that when you were talking, it really resonated with me. This idea came to us as we were talking as a team. What if we got 100 people to make a $100 commitment each quarter? $25 a month, $100 a quarter from 100 people. Do y'all know that's $40,000 in raised capital for something? And so we wanted to put that into an endowed scholarship fund for kids to be able to attend either HBCUs or trade schools, because there are some people who have amazing trade artists that can go in and do some amazing work. And so we want to put that into an endowed fund. Everybody on this call has committed to that, but I'm asking for any alumni who may be watching this to make that commitment. And I want to ask those who are on this call, why are you committing to giving to something like this in this effort? I want to talk to Michael first.
Yeah, big commitment behind this. I was able to support the Justice Journey on last year, and I just thought it was really dynamic to know that there were students who are actually getting ready to take in different stories, different scenery, different places I've been. Maybe for the first time, maybe for the second time overall. I wanted to really recommit to that and actually continue this program going forward. So that's a big reason why I'm giving at this particular point in time, is to want to see the momentum just keep going. Actually see the Justice Journeys happen, not only from last year into this year, but see it happen for the next 5, 10, or even 20 years overall. So that's a big reason why I'm contributing now.
Grateful. Thank you, man. What about you, Derek?
Yeah, I don't think I could give enough. I wish I could do more. One of the reasons that I'm giving is just the fact that we need people to see us investing in ourselves. I think we who are investing in young people who are following in our footsteps, we need to show them that we are connected and concerned about their experiences. I remember, we didn't have a better Glynn when we grew up. We had, and I'll say, a teacher who probably embodies the spirit of other teachers like her, but Elaine Maynor took us to Atlanta, and now that she's passed and the issue is closed, JETS, which she told the school was the Junior Engineering Technology Students Club, but she took us just to HBCUs. She said it's because y'all are jet black and we going to black schools. And it's that kind of innovation that I think we need to be lifting up. But now we could do this out in the open. We don't have to be subversive. We don't have to hide this. It is important. We should be public and front facing and investing in these efforts any way that we can, so that people like Ms. Maynor, who had to do it on the load on the side, we need to lift her up and pay that forward, that work that she did.
Some people didn't even know Jets Club was meant that.
They didn't know it meant Jet Black.
She said Jet Black. I remember that too, bro. That was hilarious. What about you, Twani?
I mean, for me, it's a no-brainer. I mean, my entire family is still in that community. I got a nephew that's at Brunswick High as we speak. So, for me, still having my ear to the ground in the community, I don't have to be present to be impactful. So for me, it's a great organization. If I truly believe in the organization, sometimes it takes more than attending a meeting. Everything has a business side to it, and it takes finances. So, we have to find a way to support those things that are pouring into our community. So for me, it was a no-brainer, and not necessarily for my family members themselves, but for those other kids that just need somebody to believe in because they don't have it at home. And so, at one point, I was that lost kid that just needed somebody to pour into me. So, it was a no-brainer for me.
That's good. Yeah. What about you, Dr. Butler?
Yeah, all the gentlemen have said a lot of words that were popping up in my mind, but I think one of the main things is lifting as we climb. I think that's the essence of our lives. We want to continuously give back, but lifting others as we continue to understand.
Mm,
No brainer
that's
for
good.
me as well.
That's great. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to issue a challenge. All right. So I already have several people who have donated to our legacy alumni. And so I'm going to name some names. Ray Oglesby has donated and she's become a legacy alumni. She's also supported us over the years. Samuel Sullivan has done so. Stephanie Berry, Akia Banks, and one of my classmates, Ty Lewis, has joined me. So I got 4 classmates who have already joined the Legacy Alumni. And so I'm gonna issue a challenge. Which class and which school is going to be the largest Legacy Alumni network in our Legacy Alumni? I know me, Derek, and Keisha are going to grab the rest of our 97 classmates because we about to rock this. But I'm issuing a challenge. Class of 98, 20, Glynn Academy.
I'm just making sure we don't have to go back and recount these votes. You know, we've been having a lot of that going on, so just make sure we verify everything before we release the numbers.
Hey, I'm gonna give you receipts. Okay, I just need classes, and I need to know what class you're part of. I know Hardy, you're part of 03, right?
2003. We're gonna take this
okay.
one. Guarantee
Okay.
you. 100%.
So let's get the recruiting. We're gonna track who is from what class, and we're gonna see which class gonna make this happen. Because I truly believe that the BHS class of 1997 is unheralded and cannot be beaten. So we gonna accept this challenge. I pray that other classes accept the challenge. Look, Commissioner Roll says she got this. Y'all got the okay. GA class of 2003. I see you. Somebody
Brunswick High will create an opportunity to compete against Glynn Academy and lose. Y'all ain't tired yet? I mean, I really can't. Are y'all not tired?
Hey, we're gonna see. We're gonna see. That's what this is all about. So we got some folks that are ready to jump in. Make sure y'all recruit your classmates. We've already dropped the link in the chat. We'll drop it again, but this is where you can find it. It's on our website, but also I'm just going to drop the direct link. Again, it's $100 a quarter for 4 quarters. And here's what it's going to do ultimately. I know it's a friendly competition, but listen, can you imagine if we collectively are able to raise $40,000 a year for an endowed scholarship for young children who may be able to come back to our community and make an impact in our community? And that's one of the things that we're asking them to do. Listen, we're giving you this money. We want you to come back and do some work in the community. We're going to connect with some employees in the area so that people don't have the excuse that I can't get back because they can't afford me. So we're going to remove that barrier, take away some of these student loans so they can come back and do the work that they want to do in our community. And it's going to start with us, though. Everybody who's an alumni, I'm challenging every one of us, even those who are there in Brunswick still, to be able to give to this initiative, to be able to support us at our Legacy Gala. The gala is coming up on May 4th. If you want to grab some tickets, you can grab tickets to that gala. It's going to be amazing. But I already see some classes chiming in, so let's see who's going to win this challenge. Charmaine said BHS class of 2004. I got none of y'all yet, so I need at least one. All right, so I appreciate y'all. Y'all got any closing thoughts for the city that you were born and raised in and love, and the community that you love as well? I'll start with Dr. Butler. We'll start with you.
Yeah, I'm just so grateful for the foundation that I've been given, being a native of Brunswick. You know, when I think back to, we talked about the community, family, all of that, how that plays a tremendous part. But I just remember, being respectful. And that's just something that has resonated with me. And I'm proud to say it's because I grew up in Brunswick that I know how to be respectful. I know how to be in any room with a variety of folks, but also being able to persevere. So I'm just grateful for the experiences that I had in Brunswick and the folks that have been a part of my journey.
That's good. Okay, what about you, Michael?
Yeah, just closing thoughts. Like I'm grateful for this panel we've been able to pull together overall. I think my closing thought here for people who may be outside of Glynn County, I challenge all of you to make it a point to try to come back more often, not just to see your family, not just to see friends, but actually see how the community has changed over time, and to ask yourself that deep question about what you can do to contribute to the community's future overall. I made it a point to put it in my budget to try to come back at least once every other month. Yes, my family is a part of it, but I also want to give to the community and actually see how it's changing too. So my closing thought, make it a point to come back to Glynn County, come back to Brunswick, and think about what it is that you can do to help prosper.
That's good. Thanks, man. What about you, Mr. Walker?
Just be proud. Be proud of where you come from. Be happy.
Then don't say it at all. If you're not coming back trying to be a change agent, then kind of just sit to the sideline. People who really truly want to affect change, they get in the game, and it doesn't matter where I am in this world. I'm going to find a way to get back to my community. That is my foundation. There is nothing that you can throw at me that I'm not going to be successful at because of the foundation that I was given within the community of Glynn County, within the city of Brunswick. School system, career, any room. I can go in the backyard in any city of anywhere, and I'm going to be comfortable. I can go in any boardroom and be comfortable. And that's because of the foundation that I have for Glynn County. And everybody in Glynn County, whether you've heard it from somebody or not, I love you. I'm proud of you. And I know that there's success in you. And I'm proud of you. And I'm proud to be a resident or and a person that has come from the city of Brunswick.
That's good. Mr. Heck.
Yes, sir. I'm so proud to be from Brunswick. And it's not just because it's my hometown. There are tangible reasons why I'm proud to be from Brunswick. I think the city is great. I think it can be greater. I think the seeds are there for a larger and bigger movement in Brunswick. I think I'm so grateful for the foundation that I got there, the family that was in my own home, but extended beyond my home. I got care and concern and really support from people who weren't part of my given family. They were part of my chosen family. And so I just appreciate Brunswick for being a network of support for decades. And I'm looking forward to continuing it to invest in Brunswick as Brunswick has invested in me. And I look forward to going back as often as I can and showing up in the right places and realize that the people who live in Brunswick and who are experiencing the highs and lows of it, they are the experts. And I just want to encourage us to listen to the people who are on the ground, who are in the wake of all of these systems, in the wake of all of these processes, to listen to the hearts of those people, listen to their ideas, because that's where the expertise is. This can't be top down, can't be dictated to folks. We got to make sure we elevate the voice of the right people as we move Brunswick forward. And so I'm ready to listen. I'm ready to be a part of that process. However Brunswick will have me, I look forward to being part of it. So, and thank you, Glynn, and thank you, John, for organizing this.
Yeah, thank you all for joining us. This has been a rich conversation for me, and I'm looking forward to continuing to connect with y'all so we can impact our community even from afar. I don't live in Brunswick anymore. None of us do, but man, we love our city so much and are willing to pour into the city with our resources that we've been blessed with. And so I'm grateful for y'all joining me on that journey. Listen, when y'all do give, I see y'all putting all your classes in here. Okay. Make sure you leave your class and your school in the comments, because now we're about to start tracking which class is going to be the largest class in the Legacy 100 alumni. I'm going to go ahead and be honest with y'all and tell y'all that Brunswick High class of 97 is far in the lead right now. So y'all got some catching up to do. Make sure y'all do that. You could do it over at our website, thebrunswickinitiative.org. There's a button that says join the Legacy 100 alumni, or you can just come to our gala. We'd love for you to come to the gala. It's going to be an amazing gala. We got some great food, some great entertainment, but also great stories. All of our kids are going to be able to share just how much you all have impacted them through your donations. We're going to go to DC this summer. We're sharing some videos from that. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to go to Howard. We're going to go to the African American History Museum, and we're going to have a good time, all because you all believe in us and believe in Better Glynn and believe in better. So thank y'all. Appreciate y'all. And Derek, Michael, Keisha, Antoine, thank y'all for joining the call. Every time I talk about Brunswick, I talk about all the people like y'all, man, that really make my heart happy to see. Just because we left don't mean we can't give back. Y'all pour time, resources into our community. I can't thank you enough for that. So thank y'all. Appreciate y'all. All right, y'all have a good night.
You
All
too.
right,
See
take
y'all
care.
next
Thank you.
time.
Take care.
Yeah. Bye.